Hi, it's Jeff. I want to give a little video here. Sorry, I got a little background noise. I'm at a restaurant here. Got a little bit of kids, but that's no big deal. Well, I'll talk louder. The I want to talk about how I got into or why I got into doing games. Online games, digital games. And I actually hated it for years. I'll be honest. I'll hate it for years. Um, and I'll tell how I got to I'll say I don't want to say loving it or liking it, but I do it for a purpose. But I'll start back when I was back in the 1980s. I grew up during the Pac-Man kind of era. During my high school years is probably junior high school and high school years when Pac-Man came out in the 1980s. Um, and asteroids, the asteroids arcade thing with you got the little ship shooting at planets or asteroids and trying to break them up, and there are a few others too. Breakout, and there were a few of them. And there was little football games. Those little football games with the line that the American football, where you got to go up and you're running that. They have a little line. You have these two buttons. You're kind of running this little guy trying to play the. I actually learned playing. I played it. Those games. I actually didn't have one myself, but maybe some friends let me borrow it. But I used that. I learned how to play American football, not because I played American football, but because I learned it from the little games. But I wasn't really great at them. To get the first down. I mean, I did okay. Did okay. Um, Pretty average. Pretty average. And I remember there was a 7-Eleven. A 7-Eleven is basically a little frequency store, kind of convenience store, not a frequency, a convenience store, where you go buy things and you can drive drinks and candies and food and anything, take away things. And it's kind of like when you're going to a gas station or a petrol station and they have a convenience shop there if you get to buy things to upsell those other things you got to have while you're on the road. It's kind of one of those, but it doesn't have a gas station. So there's 7-Eleven. And so, or there were another convenience stores too. I can't remember the names of them. That was 30, 40 years ago in the United States. Now, I haven't lived there for 30 years. So, but I remember trying to go down to these little convenience stores that had that little arcade game. Or go to, like, there were Chuck E. Cheese's pizza parlors too. Sometimes you got for birthdays, and they had the Pac-Man there and stuff. I sucked at all these games. I'll tell you, these arcade games, and they cost. Back then, I think they cost 25 cents if I remember. And the asteroids, I just couldn't last long enough. Um, I can't remember the number of points. I just wasn't great at it. Pac-Man, I did okay. Mario, and that was no, before Mario. Mario came out was later in college. And my brother, my younger brother, man, he could spend an entire half day on a 125-cent quarter playing the asteroids game. He just kicked my butt, my younger brother. I don't know how much he actually played. He probably played a lot to get to that point. I'll come to that in a couple minutes. My experience of that, but so I really sucked at these games in junior high and high school, and I started working when I was 14 or 15 years old, so I made money. So I actually decided to invest my money more in, buying a car or a motorcycle to get around, to go do my job, and rather than spending money doing these ephemeral kind of temporal things, I decided to invest my money in getting things I'd need to be able to get the next job or to get experience and to pay for my education because I did pay for my college education and for a lot of things. So I decided to save up for that. And to buy guitars. I played the guitar, so I wanted to, I did album stuff. So I invested in those things they were assets. Okay. And I recognize that. And I'm not saying it's better than anything else. It's just my decision making. Germans are actually like this too. Americans tend to be like this, but Germans are much more like this. Um, but I recognize why I did that and how I did that, and I was really careful on not spending money because I didn't grow up in a family that had a lot of money at all. So I had to actually make my own money to do my own things, and even made my own clothes sometimes, my own pairs of pants. So careful on where I spent my money, and gaming wasn't my thing because it wasn't for me. It was a very temporal activity that only lasts 10 minutes and done, and if you're lucky, and there were those arcades you can go to. Like I remember in the mall they had an arcade place, so you paid like I don't know, $3, $4, or $5 to get in an entry fee, and then everything was like 5 cents, or less, or free. I don't remember. Probably all free. I can't remember. And there I did well, because I just kept spending money, but I ended up spending the same amount of money in the end as going and wasting money playing 25 cents, 10 times. So I don't know, 10 times or whatever. So I actually played, it's just another way to do the same thing. And so I'd go with friends and stuff just to do that from time. Then in, then in college, so I didn't have much time to do much in college because I was working full time and going to school full time. So I didn't really have time to do any of that things and that to get through that. But I remember right after the second college degree, yeah, it was in my second college. I had my girlfriend. We went down to San Diego to see her parents, and they had Mario. They had a. I didn't have a Nintendo. What was it called? The little. Darn, I can't remember the name. There's a little thing. My kids have one, and they actually bought one. Darn, I can't remember the name thing. It's called. There's little portable ones. Oh, I got to remember too. I got to remember back in the 1980s too. I went to my cousins in England, and two of them were like, all three of them were actually computer geeks, and so I had a laptop, and they had Prince of Persia, or I had Prince of Persia on the laptop on a disc or so they did, and I sucked at Prince of Persia too, trying to go up through the things and the lives. They said, okay, what we'll do is we'll hack it. So they hacked it so they could so that we can give unlimited lives to me. Okay, and then I kind of liked the game because I actually could get further because I didn't die so fast. So that was early 1990s. Okay, so and then in college, probably I played a bit down on my girlfriends, with their parents' stuff when they had Mario. I don't remember what it was, whatever whatever it's called back then. I don't remember the names of things because I wasn't into it. Okay, but that was in the 1990s or the 1990s. Okay, and then nothing for years. It wasn't my thing. And I actually kind of saw people at work that play, solitaire and kind of stuff, card games and stuff, and that kind of sounds just a waste of time. Now I was a researcher too. I got into research and all my, and you can go look at the stuff I do, and I got 250 publications now, so I'm kind of really, people call me a prolific, writer. Um, and I write a lot of magazine stuff and do a lot of videos and stuff. So I'm, sharing knowledge and stuff. And I just always kind of saw. Now, I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying this is who I was. I always thought it was kind of a waste of time. Games and people that play games in the train. I'd be writing business plans in the train. I'd come on commuting every day and stuff, and putting my ideas in the paper and creating new ideas and creating new business plans for new products and stuff. Just kind of saw that more valuable than playing, a game on a phone or a tablet or whatever in the train. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that's, as and I wanted to again put my time into other things that I was creating something rather than just playing something that was temporal. And and then um, the Wii came out in 2000. We bought a Wii in 2009 for the family, and then we had kids, and kids were young, and my brother-in-law, he uh, he did more gaming, and when we were he and his my sister-in-law and he married just probably 5 years after us. I can't remember, 5 to 10 years after us, actually. Now I think about it. And he was a bit more into it. So, like, he already had some games, and he already had the steering wheel and stuff. And so he and I play at Christmas time. Christmas binge. Take a week off at Christmas and kind of do stuff. And especially from 2009 afterwards, um, there was when the family, we'd buy, these consoles for the family. So we bought a Wii in 2009. I remember that. So I get this whole feeling I didn't like the games. I mean, I was just really lower than average. Yeah, kind of dependent game. Um, and so they made unlimited lives. So now fast forward back to 2010. So 2009, we bought the Wii, and then I kind of started playing with the family and stuff, and a lot of these sports kinds of games and canoeing and whatever. And boxing, the Wii stuff, and Wii Fit, and music and dance. I'm not a dancer, also let the family play that one and do that. Um, um, and then as the kids grew up, they grew out of the Wii, and now they want to have a PlayStation. So we got, I think, a PlayStation 3 or 4, probably 3, I can't remember. Um, and so every year for Christmas again, the brother-in-law, and I, and all the kids, our little kids are all growing up together. We're all doing, Mario Jungle, or of the jungle thing, the Mario Kart with the jungle characters or whatever, or the card, or the little race games or card games. The card games I always liked. The card games I was actually pretty good at. That was probably one of the things I was decent at. Um, the and then we got the PlayStation, and then the Xbox came out. So you got to get the Xbox for the kids, and just recently we bought a Switch for the kids, for my sons as well. But now I'm gonna come up to, I really just and I would, even over the past years, I would let my son. I would watch him play Zelda games. I didn't play him. I just watched him. Now I'd make recommendations of what he should do. I said, you should do this, do this, do this, and he'd do it, and that would work. And so I had a good recommendation of what to do. I just really sucked in doing the thing and the action and the thing, and sometimes there'd be things that were difficult. And to tell you the truth, we actually recently, we got a lot of these games on these CDs. Okay, so. And we have a classer. They always think this little thing that you put all the CDs with all the pockets in them and stuff. And I let some friends actually recently borrow some of the games because they didn't have any of the Wii games. So we have this. So I give them the whole folder thing. And my son, I asked my son to go ahead and go through and categorize everything. And he put some Post-its in there at each section. And the way he did it, and this is what these friends just totally laughed about. They said that when he borrowed it, because he looked at it and says, "Oh, it's all categories about whether or not I can play at the games or not." So he had single player games for the Wii, single player games for the PlayStation, all the Xbox ones with the other house, and then the games that don't work because they got scrapes. We got to we'll have to get some gel or something and fix them. And then there are ones that games that Dad can't play. This made these friends laugh. They said, "Oh, they even got categorized. I can't play the games because it's too hard for me." Seriously. And so this was so this kind of gives this whole picture here. How I finally got into gaming, and liking it, and I not because I think it's actually better anymore, and but I actually use it as a tool. And my children were never able to identify with anything that I did, that I've kind of known for, and all these translation systems and stuff, and all my publications. It didn't interest them to read anything, or, didn't really do an interest them, and I can understand that. This is kind of, this is what that kind of does and stuff. And about a year ago in April, just about a year ago, one of my sons said, "Dad, why don't you download?" I have no games on my phone too. I've got no games on my phone, so no one can borrow my phone. Hey, let's do a play game. There's no games. My kids can't borrow my iPhone to have a gift to a friend to play a game because there's nothing on it to do. They're all business applications and stuff. And so I'm kind of the boring person, I don't have games on my phone. I only have, even don't have solitaire, any basic stuff on my phone. I delete it because it's just a waste for me. Again, it's my perspective. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. It wasn't a valuable thing for me. But then in April, a year ago, I think I think it was April, in the spring, one of my sons said, "Dad, why don't you, there are a couple of these online games. Why don't we play together?" Okay. So I installed a couple of games. And I think one is called Brawl Stars. Yeah, one's called Brawl Stars. Here, yeah, I got to look it up here. Brawl Stars, I think it is. It's got the yellow kind of logo. Yeah, Brawl Stars. Yeah, it's got the skeleton head. And then another one called Clash Royale. Okay, so it's got two kings there. So I install these two games on my phone, and I start playing. So I think I start with Brawl Stars. And he wants me the first weekend to play with his friend, a game of 3. and I've got like 500 points, and they've each got 20,000. Okay. And I said, no way am I going to play with you guys, because you're going to both kill me. Because when I come in to play the game, it's going to put us up to what your level is, not the level I'm. It's not a low. These are not lowest common denominator games. These are the highest level people. The highest level person sets the level. Um, the lowest people just die. And I said, no way am I going to know. But so I didn't play with them. I just kind of did it alone, and I got more time than my kids. And I'm an expert when I do, so I get a little bit more time and a little more flexible with my time, and I can take a lot of breaks and stuff. So I actually started just playing the thing. And 6 months later, I actually had already gone further than both of my sons in the number of points, and they're just like freaking out. Now I did put a little money into it. I'm not I have no shame of being a pay to play person, or pay to win, or I don't know what this called is. They know these things, these terms. They tell me what this is, um, but I did buy some gems or whatever these things called. But that didn't. All it did was get me the next characters, or whatever you call these things. These things in the game. Player types, or whatever these I don't know what they call these things. So you can see that's how good I am in these games. How do you know what they call these things in the games that you play, the different characters. But what it is allowed me to get the other ones, and get more points. But it didn't give me more points. The points you got to work for. You got to work hard to get the points. Okay, it just allowed me to be able to get the things to get the points, or to get a little more money and the coins to buy some cards, or buy whatever you call it in these different games. And I did on the Clash Royale as well. So I invested a bit of, not a ton of money, just enough. I wasn't doing like all these gamers that just invest. That's all they do. Um, but it didn't make the skills better. The skills. But I was very intelligent in how I played the games, and I was very strategic in how I um, used the points to get characters, or whatever these things are called, to play the next thing. Very strategic about it. And when I upgraded something, I was strategic which one I wanted to do. Very strategic. My son would say, "You're too strategic." I said, "Yeah, but," and within like 6 months, I had bypassed him on both games. Bypassed both of them on both games. And on actually the Clash on the Royal the Brawl Stars, I have three accounts. And the third account I don't buy any gems. So I just decided I'm going to try to do it. I'm actually trying to improve the game. I'm trying to improve my playing style and stuff, and playing strategies, and seeing how far I can get if you buy stuff or you don't buy stuff. It's kind of like a game to me to do play the game. And and But the final that comes out of all this, and the end of the story was. I still don't like playing games. For me, it's a tool. But the tool, what it is for me, is that it became the means that I can identify with my sons, my two teenage sons, where we couldn't identify on a lot of other things. I don't play a lot of sports that are. I don't play, soccer stuff, or I'm into more like bicycling, individual games or stuff. Um, uh, so I don't like to go out in the yard and kind of play soccer and stuff. I kind of do it sometimes, kids, but I just never was really, really into that. Um, so that and but what happened was, this was a turning point this past year for my sons and I, my two teenage sons and I too. Um, Now when we go out to have lunch or dinner somewhere, at a restaurant or something, what are we doing during the meal? We're sitting there talking about the cards to exchange, because I'm actually at their same level or past them. So I've got some cards they want, they got some cards I want, in the games, or they got some characters or cards or whatever. And we're sitting there spending the whole time just talking about the things they like, the things that really interest them in these games. That's what they think about. And it's helped me enter into their arena, into their universe. Um, the games were allowed me to do that. Um, and And what it did was, and things we could talk about the same topic, and we knew what it was. The gems. Hey, Dad, can you give me this, or can you do this, or Dad, or hey, son, can you do this, or you got this card, or we can exchange this, or we could exchange things that rather than putting up and say, hey, let's announce I want to have this card exchange. Hey, do you have the card or not? Okay, okay, I'll put it up and you take it quickly, and we can do all this in real time. And that just that was great this past year. I think that then that's why I continue to do it, because I continue to want to be able to have the things that they'll want. I want to have the cards that they want, that will want you to. I do this just on purpose, to do this, and it's probably the only reason why I do this. It's for them, is to be able to identify more with them and to relate to them. Um, and and what that did was, for at least one of my sons, was it opened up the opportunity to be able to talk about other things too that interest him when he wants to talk about things. And that was the kind of the turning point. I think this gaming thing just allowed for that to be a catalyst to be able to talk about other things too, which had not been the case before. So yes, games, these electronic games can serve a purpose, even if you don't see that they're useful. At least I found a way to do that. Even if, I still don't like them. I don't want to call it a sacrifice, but I just find it's a I found it as a compromise, a good compromise for me to be able to relate with my family, my children, at least at this point in life where they are. And of course, I can relate even more with my extended family, even more, because of the games and stuff, and I can play things. And I'm a lot more better at it now. Gotten a lot more better at playing, by doing some intense playing, and consistent playing. But I bet you I still suck at asteroids. I bet you that I just would not do so good at asteroids. There are some games I get at, and there are some characters in some of these games I know to avoid because I'm just not good at them, and there are others where I'm better. So hopefully the little story, the story here, kind of, it tells a story, but it kind of tells how it's these things can be useful, even if they don't always seem to be useful. And maybe, and it's a story for maybe the folks in the gaming industry to kind of understand too, how to deal with people like me that just were never into games. So hope you like the story. Let me know, and let me know what you think.